Hey, welcome back to another RSG video, and we are doing a special video today. I'm Ranger J 1999, part of the RSG crew, and I've got the crew minus one Loki, who has got some personal stuff that he has to take care of, but he's here in spirit. So let's introduce everybody. First of all, we have the one and the only, the troll extraordinaire, Dr. Finn Medicine Woman here. Also joining us is the government Wi-Fi stealer himself, the brown Gandalf, the beerless one, Grande Pappy Patron is here. And of course, the lovely, the most wanted, the one that puts Loki to sleep with her words, Miss Tits McVenom is here. And we have the amazing executive live producer, the one and only CG Carey here with us today. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. I'm especially good because you just gave me a promotion, because I'm not technically an executive producer. I'm just a lowly senior producer. So
well, someone told me you're executive live producer, and by someone I mean Grande.
You know what? I'll take it. Thank you,
I give people promotions every day. Sergeant Major Ranger J 1999.
Well, let's not get crazy here, okay?
The first question I wanted to ask you was, how many people work at Capital Games in Sacramento?
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. I think we're just over 70 at this point. And it's, the nuances when you work for a company like EA, there's people that are working on the game that aren't in Sacramento. Not many, most of them are here. There's also people that are here supporting not just this game, but other games. And so the core kind of dev team and all of the necessary kind of roles is maybe like 50 or so, and then we've got all kinds of supporting people that help us just day in, day out, and so it's about 70, I think, kind of in the building, and almost everybody is entirely dedicated on Galaxy of Heroes.
Nice.
All right. How many people actually do coding and or programming?
So I was just counting that up. I think it's 20. It's just over 20. And engineers are separated into, and by the way, that's a pretty good ratio. Like, I think, the engineers, are the driving kind of force of a lot of the work that goes into the game. And that's not to discredit anybody else. It's just that engineers are a very kind of special, important engine of feature content in particular. And so the fact that we have 20 out of about 70 is a pretty good ratio. And in particular, they're divided into different subgroups. So we've got kind of client guys who focus on the UI and the things that you actually see in the sort of front end of the game. And then, of course, we've got the server guys who make sure that the game can scale and that the servers stay up. And that goes into like our live operations group, who are on call 24/7 in case anything goes down. We've got build engineers. Like, we've really got a lot of different kind of specialties in there. But we have a good chunk of those are gameplay engineers.
Are there different divisions working for CG where one team works on TW, one works on raids, etc.? And does every division go through the same quality test before releasing the new content?
So it's sort of split. The main two kind of groups are what we call our feature team and our live team, or our content team. And the feature team consists of mostly engineers, but there are also designers, there's UI designers, there's QA across the board. And they work on cycles for the title updates. And the title updates are the ones that you get when you have to go to either your Apple or Google store and download the client date. And that's when you see a lot of the work of the engineers going into the game and new features and things like that. Then the live team handles all of the other updates, hot fixes, content updates. They're working at a much kind of faster pace, but they also have fewer, and I say hoops lovingly, but like kind of fewer hoops to go through, because when we do a client update, the first parties, Apple and Google, they look for any issues and they put it through their own testing process, and they have to make sure that we adhere to certain guidelines. And so that process, when we do those big client updates, can take a little bit longer because there's so many different components to review it. But when it comes to those content updates, that's signified usually by when you see like a download bar inside the game and it says downloading assets. That's when you see some of the art and some of the kits and new characters and things like that can be put into the game without having to do any of the engineering work. And then there's disciplines in the studio that bridge both. So I bridge both, although I have dedicated producers on each of those teams to sort of manage the day in, day out. So Nick, or Top Hat, is our live producer. And And then there's the art team that bridges both. The server team really bridges both. And so one of the things that is nice is that for a game this big, the team is quite small relative to some of the other games I've worked on. And so what makes it easier is that we can communicate a lot better because there's not so many of us. Everybody knows everybody, and if we need to hash something out, we can do it pretty easily. So it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit across the team and a little bit split.
So I'm sure you get a lot of different bugs that are posted on the bug forum. How do you go through and decide which ones you're going to prioritize? Is it done by which are the easiest, which has the most important to the players, greatest impact, some combination? How do you decide which bugs to prioritize?
It's definitely a combination of things. One of the things that's sort of a driving criteria when we're working on any individual update. So for example, working on bounty hunters right now, any bug that is discovered with bounty hunters, we'll try to knock that out first. And we have different ways internally of classifying bugs. We use both priority and severity. So for example, the QA team will report a bug and they'll report the severity of it. So like a crash would be what we call an A bug. And a visual glitch will be like a C bug. And then production goes in and sets priority. And priority, it can be deceptive because it's not always exactly the same thing as a severity thing. So a very, very low user path crash that only happens to one particular device or one particular account, that's an A bug, but it's not a very high priority one because we're trying to affect and positively impact as many people as possible. Where, for example, if there was a typo in the game, that would maybe be severity of a C. But if the word Star Wars were spelled wrong, then that would probably be one of the highest priority bugs in the game. So, it's about balancing what, is important and also, also important and respectful to the licensor, but as well as important to the players. So, okay, so then let's move into quality of life stuff. For quality of life, one of the things that we do is because the team is so passionate about this game and really, when I've come out and been talking to a lot of people in the community, like I'm trying to reflect the passion of the team because they're coming to me going like, I want to fix this thing or I want to help or I want to, I'm so frustrated that this person's having this problem that I can maybe fix. And their passion is because most everybody in this building are super hardcore players of this game. And I mean it in different ways. Like everybody's pretty hardcore, but everybody plays it differently. So we've got some lifelong free-to-play players. Our general manager, John Solera, is a completely 100% free-to-play, and he runs a Ewok squad. I and some of the others are whales. So there's a range of play types and patterns and how competitive the guilds are and all of that for our personal kind of play style. And so the first thing that we do into quality of life is we go through, and I have a list that's over 1,000 items long at this point of quality of life stuff that I would like to do. And I start by soliciting the team and I go, hey, what do you guys want? And then I take my list and then we spend a good amount of time pruning forums, Reddit, Discord channels. Like we're all over the place. And then we put it all together and we look for where the spikes are. And so, for example, the first update that I sort of helped kind of form some of the strategic priorities was last year's quality of life version. So 4x speed, the upgrading a mod button. Do you remember when you used to have to upgrade at one level at a time?
Yes.
And there was an animation?
And the force speed. Let's not go back to before that. That's the before time. We don't talk about that.
And so
before the beginning.
That for me was like whole we have to fix this. We have to do this. And so a lot of it is sentiment based, but then there's also behavioral quality of life things that we want to get in. So this is related. I happen to pick an example that's related, but when we're constantly adding new content. So for example, this last year we added territory battles and wars, and a new raid, to be quite honest. They're big pieces of content that now add to people's overall playtime. So almost every quality of life update, and even not in quality of life updates, we're looking for time savings. We're looking for opportunities for people to not. So simming Galactic War, being able to multi-sim all the challenges and ship challenges, and those kinds of things are also a part of the decision-making process because we want to do things that people want fixed, but we also want to help keep the game healthy, and we need to make decisions usually in advance of it deteriorating, because by the time the health starts to go down, it's too late. And so we have to be somewhat psychic about what is passable. And so I'm afraid the 600 ticket bug was one of those bugs that I wish didn't live as long as it did. But it was actually a really significant piece of engineering work, and I couldn't prioritize that amount of engineering time. I know.
Okay. I prioritized it for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Boy, did he ever! Oh, Lord.
The day that we got that done was a good day in the office, because it was something.
Yes.
It's known, you know what I mean. It's the same thing with mod sets and Bronzium multipool. Like, we know what people want. It's just a question of priority. It goes down. We've got build engineers. Like, we've really got a lot of different kind of specialties in there, but we have a good chunk of those are gameplay engineers.
Nice.
Oh, I was like fascinated by the answer, and I was listening. I was thinking about it. Sorry.
Oh, Miss McVenom.
We would need to mess up our flow.
It's like the Smith of Greek last names. So.
Nice.
Yeah, that's right. Super cool.
Wait a minute. When I was in Greece, I didn't run into any Cuscos.
Well, you didn't go to the really boring places then.
And if you've watched our streams, you know that RSG is unfortunately not immune to any kind of technical difficulties or bugs. I don't know if you've seen that nonsense that we've gone through.
What do you mean, Finn?
You know, I just want to say I've seen it happen, and then I've seen Rangers start ranting about a bug in the game, and I have to say that it gives me a chuckle every time.
So that brings up the question: did our 600 video have any contribution to it? Because you know, at RSG we take credit for everything, no matter what.
I do know that.
Everything, Carrie. Everything.
I know. It's funny because. Sometimes what's particularly funny to me is that the way that people think, like, we mentioned chat on yesterday's stream, and chat is going into the game tomorrow, therefore it was our idea. It's like, we had to start the process of designing chat 8 months ago. So it's just funny to think about that. But I will say this, absolutely 100% things that we have taken from this stream in particular. And I'll give you an example of one that happened 2 weeks ago. Grande made me listen to the one where you guys talked about the communication thing, which made me a little anxious because I knew that my name was going to come up. And I know that Ranger's a bit of a ranter.
What do you mean, Carrie?
I know.
Just a little bit.
Okay, a little bit. Okay, yeah.
Today, yeah. Actually, I told Grande a couple days ago, I said, I don't know you anymore. I think I broke you. Where are the rants gone? So we were doing all the communication stuff, and you guys had done it on a stream, and we were about to the next day release the blog post about communication improvements, the one that Eric put up. And it didn't have anything really meaty in it, like, because we had other announcements that week that were like the daily login, which was like a physical, tangible, like, here, more Zetas for you. The community one was not as meaty, and we were like, what else can we add? And I'm sorry, I don't remember which one of you suggested it, but one of you was like, they should just send that customer satisfaction survey to everybody in the game. And because it came up in the conversation, somebody had said they'd gotten it a couple of times, and other people had said we'd never gotten it. And someone said they should send it to everybody in the game. And we sent it to everybody in the game 2 days later because of you guys.